everyone, it's Christina from the Bloomingdale Public Library. And today's craft is a No Sew Sock Gnome. So as you can see here, I have all of the pieces laid out. So let's go over them one by one. First off, we have a big fuzzy winter sock that has a sherpa lining. You guessed it, this is a huge sock. It is not a normal size sock. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to cut it in half. The bottom will be the base of our gnome and the top will be the hat. Alright, and next we have this really awesome Mongolian fur. I believe this is a 3-inch pile Mongolian fur. You can find things like this at fabric stores, but I found this online on Amazon. You're also going to need some polyfill when you go to fill the inside of your gnome's body. You're going to need some rubber bands and twine to tie things off. One or the other works, that's fine. I also have some poly beads here, and that's about a cup or a little bit more than a cup. You can decide what to use at home, whether it's dried beans or rice, or if you have poly beads like this. That'll all work fine. And then we also have a bunch of colorful options for making our hands and nose and coffee mug. And that's what's so fun and special about this guy. Now, I've got some sample coffee mugs here. I found some really cute designs online, and I'm going to share what inspired this craft in the video, so you can check out that link. There is an awesome crafter who is obsessed with gnomes, and her website is rufflesandrainboots.com. So for every season and for every reason, she has come up with a different kind of gnome to make. So I thought that was really interesting and cool. And as you can see, we have an option here of blue or red. And since our sock has both blue and red in it, you can decide which one you want to try. All right. So, also, we need a glue gun. So again, I always warn everybody, keep their glue gun on the low setting if you can. If your glue gun has a low setting, that's great, use it. Don't burn your fingers. Alrighty, let's get started. Alright, so as you can see from my layout, the first thing that we're going to do is start with the sock. We only need one sock to make one gnome. So this is great if you go online and you buy a bunch of socks. You can actually make a ton of gifts for friends and family. They're really cute. So you only need one sock, and like I said before, we're just going to cut along this line here so we can start with our body.
Alright, so the first thing that you're going to do is take your scissors and cut along the bottom of the heel in a straight line so that you separate the bottom half from the top half of your sock. Now you want to stand what will be your body up straight and dump in your cup of beans or rice or poly beads, whatever you have on hand to give your gnome some weight and to keep him standing straight when he's all finished. Stuff that with a little bit of polyfill to give the top of the body some nice roundness, and then you're going to tuck that interior sherpa lining in and gather the outer sock around and tie that off with a rubber band. Make sure that's nice and tight because we don't want the contents from spilling. And now just give it a couple of taps and move it aside, because the next thing that we're going to do is cut off the heel off the top portion of the sock that's remaining. We're going to separate the outer sock from the inner lining and cut off that heel first, keeping intact the design that is on top. So we're just cutting off the white portion of the heel, and we're going to set that aside. We're going to use that later for arms. Now we're going to cut off the bottom heel with the sherpa lining, and we're going to use that as well. We're going to use that for cuffs for our sleeves. Also make sure that you have a nice sharp pair of scissors. I had to exchange my big ones for my little ones because they just weren't as sharp. Alright, so now that you've got that done, the next step is we're going to hem the brim of our gnome's hat. Alright, so get that glue gun. We're going to put glue in a line about 1/4 of an inch down from the top where we cut our hat, and we're going to fold that brim of the hat down so that the sherpa lining covers the outer portion of the sock. My advice is just to go around and do the outer portion of the sock first. So put a line of glue down on your sock about 1/4 of an inch down, and then fold that top of the sock down over the glue, secure that in place, and once you've gone around the entire sock and done your first layer of hem, then go back and do the sherpa lining. I discovered that as I was gluing this, the sherpa lining needs a little extra pressure to stick. So the hot glue, depending on what brand of hot glue you're using, might be stickier or less sticky. So my advice is go ahead and do the outer brim lining, or the outer brim first when you do your hem, and then do the inner sherpa lining over that. So that'll look nice and clean and puffy. So that is going to be the brim of our gnome's hat, and that will sit directly on top of the body, and we'll have that nose and beard tucked in. It'll look really cute. Alright, so the next step is we are going to do the same thing. We're going to hem the top of the hat that will become what is essentially the pom-pom. So again, put a line of hot glue down and fold that top of the sherpa lining over so that it's nice and thick. Get some twine. You're going to wrap that twine around the top of the hat. Just do a quick, oh, needed a little extra glue there. Do a quick knot and cinch it really, really tight, nice and tight, because you want it to kind of look like a ball on the top of the hat. Yep, get a knot in there. Maybe double knot it for safety and security. Yep, do it again. All right, and then you just snip off your ends, and that is basically the hat. Alright, and so now what I did was I had a yard of this Mongolian fur fabric. It's best to cut Mongolian fur from the back. You don't want to cut through the hairs because you want the hairs to look nice and long, just like a beard. And if you were to cut over the top, you would trim those hairs and they would look really short and odd. We want our hairs to be nice and wispy, so our beard is big and thick and full. Now, what I did was I used a scalpel, like a pen knife, and I did cut off a lot. So I'm actually just going to trim a portion of the top off because it's quite a big beard. And then I'm going to use that portion that I trimmed off the top as my gnome's mustache. Yeah, give those hairs a little comb with their fingers. Decide which side you want to glue your beard to. Alright, and then once you have that positioned, you would just get your glue gun, put a line of glue at the top of the beard, and secure that in place. And fix those hairs again. I think I cut mine upside down. My hairs are all over the place. Alright, and then just kind of figure out where you would like to position your hat on your gnome. And once you have that figured out, I decided to add a little extra polyfill stuffing to really fill my hat out. Alright, and then yeah, once you've got that position in place, just put some glue down and then put the hat in place and push it down and hold it there for a few seconds to secure the glue, because it's not gonna secure right away. So you do have to hold it for a few seconds until it's a little bit dry, enough to stick and not move. Do that all the way around the body so that it's in place. And then here I decided that my beard was still a little bit too big, so I wanted to trim the sides down and into a V shape. So that's what I did with this. Just trimming a little bit extra off, so now it's a little more natural looking, and it'll have like a sharp little point to it at the bottom. And look for any spots you might have missed. Make sure that beard is fully secured. Alright, so the next stage in our gnome, oh, looks like what I did next was I glued down the rest of the beard to the body, and I actually did cover up the portion of the sock that had the little foot pads on it, so I wanted to cover that up. Alright, so the next thing you're going to do is take that heel, clip off the ends, and you're essentially going to cut it in half and turn it into 2 equal-sized rectangles. So they've got a little bit of curve to them. You're just going to cut off the hump of that curve and make a really rough looking rectangle. We want both of our arms to be equal in length, so just make sure when you're done cutting them that they are about the same size. Alright. And then next what you're going to do is add a little bit of glue, so a line of glue down the center of one of our arm sleeves, fold that in half and press down. And do the same thing to the other side, a line of glue down the sleeve, fold it in half and press down. Alright, and now we're going to grab that Sherpa lining and we're just going to cut off a small rectangle for each one of our cuffs and put a little dab of glue on the inside, sort of in the middle. Place your arm, fold the edges over, another little dot of glue, fold that edge over and tap down to secure the cuff in place. And we're just doing the same thing with the other side. Cut a little rectangle from your Sherpa lining. Put some glue down and place your arm sort of in the center. Fold that one edge over and then put some more glue down to fold the other edge over. And you'll notice that I'm clipping a little bit of Sherpa off because it's really fuzzy. But later on you'll see that I actually add some more on using glue to make them a little bushier, nice big fluffy cuffs. Alright, so now that we've got our arms done, what we want to do is take the corner of our arm and kind of hide it underneath the brim of the hat near the top edge of the beard. So I'm just looking at my position right now where the arms are about to be positioned and how they come together, because we're going to have hands and a mug that we want to hold in the center of the body. So put a little bit of glue down to secure the top of that arm in place. Try and tuck it under the beard, tuck it under the brim of the hat so you don't see where it starts. It's nice and even and clean. And do it to the other side too. Looks like I just added a little bit of extra glue on the edges of the beard to keep that steady and staying down. So yeah, so some of this Sherpa stuff really wants to fall off, but as you'll see later on, I add some more to give it some extra fluffiness. And yeah, so at this point you're just going to straighten those beard hairs out because you are going to put those hands in front of the beard and you don't want the beard to get in the way of the glue. Alright, so what I'm doing right now is I'm just taking some of that poly clay and I'm forming it into a ball. What I happen to notice with this particular poly clay, I know that there's a bunch of different colors out there. It was very light in skin tone, so I decided I wanted to be a little bit darker, so I took some dark brown poly clay and I started to mash it in and knead it almost like bread on my work table, so that when I got to the desired color, I didn't see any more streaks of dark brown, so it was nice and even. So this just takes a couple of minutes. You just have to keep kneading and kneading and kneading your clay until you get to the desired color. It looks good to me. So we'll roll that into a ball. I would say circumference wise it's not much smaller than a quarter, but not much bigger either. I don't think you want to go bigger than a quarter. Alright, and then take the same color, add a little bit of dark brown coloring to these as well, and we're going to mash that all together. And just so you know, if you are doing this on your own from home, you're going to bake that poly clay in your oven at 275 for about 20 to 30 minutes. Alright, so you can see the nose is a bit bigger than the hands, which is perfectly good. We want a big nose to peek out of our giant hat. Alright, and so now that that's ready, what we're going to do is place the nose under the brim of the hat. So look at the position. Okay, that looks good to me. Put some glue down, and then we're going to place our clay nose just under the brim of the hat and kind of pull that sherpa lining up and over. Nice and cozy. Alright, and then yeah, we're looking at the position of the hands right now and just taking a look to see, okay, where does that mug fit? Later on we're going to glue this to the beard, so we want those beard hairs straight too. Alright, so what you're going to do is put a dab of glue on the cuff of one hand and secure the clay ball to make the hand. And you just have to give that a couple of seconds. I know we're speeding through this video, but do take your time with that. There was a little bit of glue showing when I shoved that down, and since I don't want anyone to see the glue, I decided this is the point at which I'm going to add a bit more extra sherpa fibers to make it really fluffy and to cover up the seam, essentially where the hand meets the cuff. And we're going to repeat this process on the other side as well. Give his beard a little trim, make sure he's perfect before we go on. Yeah, so just add a little dab of glue to that hand, secure it in place. If you see some extra glue peeking out, you don't want to see that, add some more fluff to your cuff. Tap that down. Try and use less glue if you can, because it's really not sightly and then you get all those glue strands too, so less is more. Alright, so we've got both of our hands done. Now we're going to secure our mug. I decided that the blue was cute, but I'm going to go with red for this guy. I might make him a friend who holds the blue cup. So put a little dab of glue on one of your hands and secure to the mug. Hold it there in place for a while until it's nice and dry. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Put a little dab of glue on the mug and fix to the hand and hold in place. Alright, so we don't want his mug to spill, so we are going to glue that in place, but first I'm going to put on his mustache. So that little bit of extra of the beard that I trimmed off the top is now going to be his mustache. Alright, so the placement looks good. You want it to be kind of tucked under the nose, and if you feel like it's just too bushy, you can trim a little extra off, remembering to trim it from the back. Put a line of glue along the top of the inside of that mustache and kind of when you place it, tuck it under the nose. Yeah, and then add a little extra glue here and there to make sure that it's secure on both sides. Comb that beard hair down so it's good and in place, and then look for that center location where you want to affix your mug and put that in place and hold it there for a few seconds until it's dry. And he's ready. He's all done. Thanks everyone. This was fun. We'll see you around at the library. Bye bye.